the dimming of the tide that carried me out, that carried me out of here, that carried me out, that carried me out of here. I am the ether from which you'll neither sink nor swim. Two and together is how we once were way back when. I am the ether from which you'll neither sink nor swim. Two and together is how we once were way back when. I am the ether from which you'll neither sink nor swim. Two and together is how we once were way back when.
See, that's how it works. It sneaks up on you. Hello, everyone, and if everything has gone well, you'll just have listened to Landing by Skinny Dipper, who are on Olive Grove Records. And the reason for that is we're here joined by Lloyd Meredith from Olive Grove. Hello, Lloyd.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Thank you for coming along doing this. We've
Thanks
actually
very much.
genuinely been trying to get you on this for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
really
been a
pleased
while.
you can make it. So what we're going to do, we're just going to chat a bit about Olive Grove, and before we do, I'll just say, for me, it's you've got all these bands. We went to the Oran Moor showcase,
Yeah, the one in January.
which was just fantastic because every band that came on, I went, yeah, love them, love them, love them. Now I know, I presume, and we'll talk about it in a minute, it's your own kind of choice on the bands that you decide to take on, but tell us a little bit about how Olive Grove started and how you kind of got this roster of bands now.
It started just coming up for 4 years now. I used to write a music blog called Peenko, which was predominantly just about Scottish music, and because through that I got to know Halina, who writes Podcart, used to be Glasgow Podcart. So it was about July, just 4 years ago, she phoned me out of the blue one evening just kind of saying, do you want to start a label? Which is quite weird because at that time I'd just been made redundant from my previous job and I had a bit of money left over and I was actually starting to do a kind of blog label.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of, the Olive Grove took over from the blog label in a sense. So
you did stuff under the kind of Peenko label?
Yeah, for the second or third birthday for Peenko, I put out an EP with a guy called Luke, who did a thing called I Build Collapsible Mountains.
The button badge, I used to have it up there. Yeah. I used to have the button badge of that up there. Yeah, it's a great record.
Yeah, it's a great record. So I did that, and then after that, that was in October time. Then in November, Halina and I officially started Olive Grove, and we put out Randolph Sleep's first ever EP, Battleships and Kettle Chips, and it's just kind of spiraled on from there. So we did Randolph Sleep, then we did Esprit, because at that time Halina was managing Esprit, so she was very much involved in that. Then we worked with the Sons, who I'd got to know quite well just through running the blog. And actually I'd never met the guy, and it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years after we put out his record that I actually met him for the first time, which was quite weird. Yeah. But it was weird because I built up such a relationship with him. He was a good friend, but I'd never met him in person, so it was always that air of mystery. So he was kind enough to let us put out his first album, kind of Big Guinea Pigs. From there on in, we did Pensioner, and Dundee that was probably the heaviest thing we've done. We did The Moth in the Mirror, which is the band that kind of has got Stacey, who was in Reindeer Session, it's got Louis, who's in Abel Fallow, you had Gordy, who was in Fighting Rabbit at that time. Then we moved on and we did, I can't remember which we did first. I think we did State Broadcasters, then we did Joe Mango, and more recently we've done Call to Mind and Woodenbox and Skinny Dipper.
Most of whom were on that night at the
we had.
It was a real show, as you supposedly
that was
showcase of the evening. I'm interested that it because when I started doing Scots Whay Hae and I was looking at other blogs, that I read and stuff like that, yours was one of the ones, and a lot of the bands that you then went on, like the Sons and like Randolph Sleep, I discovered through Peenko. So did you think these are great bands and nobody's representing them?
That was pretty much it. Halina and I were fed up of seeing all these great bands and thinking, why is not someone getting out there and releasing them? And we thought, well, we'll do it, and essentially we looked at it that Olive Grove would hopefully be a stepping stone. So bands would come to us, work with us, and then that would raise them up a level, and then they'd go on to bigger things. Now it's almost at the stage now where I'm quite happy keeping them in our house kind of thing. It's kind of we built the label to a kind of level that's kind of pretty decent, I think.
Yeah.
But obviously we've got Randolph Sleep who've gone on. They're now working with Lost Map, which kind of came from Fens and all that kind of stuff. But I'm still very much involved with them because I manage the band, so that's kind of another branch to what I do.
And they still do stuff with you as well, do they?
Yeah, we put a mini album out last year, and I deal with them all the time.
That's
why I was late tonight. I was phoning Adam to speak to him about stuff, so it's hard.
I can imagine you're very hands-on.
Yes.
I think, I'm a big fan of record labels, as in the ones that are a real sign of quality, whether it's something like Factory or Chemical Underground or 4AD or something like that. And I think Olive Grove, for me, if I say, oh, it's on Olive Grove, I listen to it without, thinking, well, it's going to be something interesting.
Okay.
Did you have an idea of the bands that you wanted to, the type of bands that you wanted to get in, or was it just...
No, I've been completely winging it since day one. Didn't know, I don't know what's coming next kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's very much a kind of, I go with my gut most of the time, and it's kind of, that's proven to be pretty good so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be said that there is not a sound, but there is a kind of a move towards acoustic or slightly, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's not to say that we wouldn't do a dance album or a heavy rock. I mean, there are bands we have talked about working with who've actually then gone on, done better things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything.
No, sure, of course, yeah. That's the bit we can cut out.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always the after.
But there are bands we have looked at and talked about, but now I quite like having that ability to do a showcase gig where all the bands that play together are of a similar nature, and they can some of the bands are actually working together in the moment. We've got Pete, who is in State Broadcasters. He recorded Randolph Sleep's album. He's now in Randolph Sleep. He actually was also in the Sun's album, so we'll play some songs off later. Skinny Dipper, who are one of our newest bands, is that they've just collaborated with Woodenbox in their new album. So there is very much a kind of a family kind of thing.
Well, it feels like that.
And that's what I wanted it to
be.
So
not in a mafia way, in a kind of
everyone
really helps each other out and said, well, we need vocals on this, can you come and do that? And which is
exactly, that's kind of looking at other labels have done that I look up to and see what they're doing, and I kind of think, well, I want to be like that, and kind of that's what I'm pushing it for.
So who are the other labels that you kind of look up to?
I tend to just look at the Scottish labels, to be honest. I'm very insular in the way that my outlook is. So I obviously was a big fan of Fens.
Yeah.
I really love what Lost Map do now. Chemical, I would love to be like 10% of what they are. I love what Matthew does at Song by Toad. That's kind of, these are the ones, and Guess Our Melody as well, be the other one that kind of spring to mind.
In that sense, would you always look at to keep it Scottish bands and that?
I think so. I've thought about, for me it's very much a personal thing. If I'm going to invest my time, I have to know that person. If they're down in London or Manchester or something like that, then I can't arrange to meet up with them every 5 minutes. I can't put a launch show on in Glasgow for them because nobody would come because they're based in Manchester, and I can't go down to it. So it makes sense for me to do it in my own backyard.
But I think that's why small record labels or small publishers or whatever small theatre companies really work, is because they kind of link into the society that's around them. So if you go back to Postcard Records, they all knew each other and they all turned up at Alan Hong's house and that kind of thing. I mean, most of the bands on Factory were Mancunian bands and things like that. And I think
makes sense.
It does make sense. In that sense, are you happy to be a kind of indie label? I mean, I think it's great that people are still wanting to be indie record labels.
No, that's pretty much what I want to do. That's kind of, since the age of 16, this is pretty much what I wanted to do. Apart from the fact I don't make any money from it, I can't make a living from it, but at the same time, I'm kind of living the dream because I'm doing something I love. I just got to do all the extra additional day-to-day work on top of that just to get by.
It's a very familiar story of many people that have been on this podcast, and Ian and myself as well. But it's great. I mean, I've known you a bit and seen you at gigs and things like that. I can imagine that, you never seem happier than when you're like that. Yes, this is the music.
That's because I'm usually drunk. That's all it is.
There is that as well. Yeah. So am I.
Yes, that's what we got on so well.
But So when you were 16, you thought this is what I wanted to do. It was people like Fence and Chemical that you.
Oh no, at that age, I just wanted to work in
just
music.
wanted to be in music.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a fanzine. I did kind of thing.
Oh, did you? What was that like?
Do you remember? Oh, I'm going to show I lose all my credibility points here. But do you remember a band called Symposium?
Yes.
We were kind of after Britpop, there was Bratpop, and I basically got sucked into this, and they were like my idols, and kind of I wrote a fanzine about them, and then I got into Idlewild, so they came into that. So I did that for a few years, and that kind of helped me. I actually ended up going down to Liverpool, did a masters in music industry.
Oh.
So I tried to get a job in the music industry for years, and basically I couldn't get a job because a masters in the music industry just wasn't recognised. So I was looking at getting this entry level job. So I came back up to Glasgow and kind of ambled my way through for a while, and then obviously I started the music blog. Must have been about 5-6 years ago, something like that. 6 years ago, because it's the same year I got married. That's how I should remember. I can remember better the blog. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so I started that, and that just kind of spiraled into what has happened now, where people started listening, reading the blog. I started writing about Scottish bands, and that kind of transpired into the label and managing Randolph Sleep and all these amazing things I do.
So the blog started because really you were still interested in music, but you there was nothing, you weren't going to make, as you say, money from it.
Exactly. But it was also, I was sick of going out with my friends and them saying, "Oh, have you heard this band?" And they'd go, "Nah."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I sent you a link. It's like, I didn't. And then so they were right, I'll stick it on a website, and then they have to go read it, and they didn't read it. But other people read it, and that's what kind of transpired and kind of all snowballed, and this is now where I am.
But that's part of the reason for starting Scots Whay Hae was the thing. Look at this great stuff that's on your doorstep, and
it frustrates the hell out of me.
All the record labels that you mentioned and the bands that are on them, you think, there's just so much stuff out there, yet people,
unless they're force fed it, then they don't listen. So I think you have to have people who are very passionate about what the local scene are out there supporting it. Otherwise, unless they're force fed it by the enemy, they're just not interested. I'm
interested now that there's you've got STV Glasgow starting and smaller media outlets. I mean, do you think that could be beneficial for bands to get them over there, bigger audience?
I doubt it, to be honest. I mean, how many people watch STV Glasgow?
Yeah, that's very true.
But then for our bands, but our bands have been on, like Joe's been on, Randolph Sleep been on, Skinny Dipper on, and that's great for them because it looks great to have your band on TV, and it looks great to your kind of local people who know who you are, kind of think that you're on television. Yeah. But I don't think it'll do too much more.
And what about I'm thinking on radio? I mean, what's how difficulty of getting radio plays? Impossible these days.
Outside of Scotland,
or even inside of Scotland.
We do okay. We think
Vic
Gallowell's was a big supporter for us. Jim Kelly's a big supporter. We've got Marion up in MFR up in Inverness. They're kind of our three hardcore ones. BBC Intuition found it pretty tough with even when Ali McRae was on. Yeah, we weren't cool enough to be an Ali McRae show. But people like we did well with Mark Riley for a while, but he seems to have stopped playing us now. And Gideon Cole is really good. Yeah. He's a big supporter. He kind of played a lot of Joe stuff, played a lot of state broadcasters, Randolph Sleep and stuff like that. So you're good, but in terms of getting radio play during the day and things like that, unless you get a plugger, I don't think it's really on. Yeah, it's really hard. So in terms of obviously you're putting on gigs and in terms of promotion, how do you find you do it? Is it all internet based? Really depends. I mean, sometimes it depends if we do it in house or we use a PR company. Right. We've got a good relationship with a company down in London called The Badge of Friendship. It's run by Paul and Claire, who are actually from Glasgow. Right. I got introduced to through Halina, and they've been really good to us. We've worked with them quite a few times. We've got our guy Mike Gurley, who's based in Scotland, and he does local PR for us as well. Sometimes I just do it in house, and it's a hell of a lot of effort. But when you actually do it yourself and it comes off, it's a lot more rewarding to kind of see. So I did that with Skinny Dipper's last EP, and that's done really well so far. Or in the context of what we could do. But locally in Scotland, we pretty much got everything. Apart from, we've got everything apart from the Skinny in the list, but that's
a different story, isn't it?
That's a different story.
That looks like another one for later.
We try.
Yeah, well. And what about just selling, like getting albums into record stores? And I mean, obviously, we've spoke about Love Music and you mono, but I mean, is it?
I do it all myself.
Yeah.
So I'll go into Mono Love Music. We use Voxbox and Coda through in Edinburgh. We don't use the other Edinburgh store anymore. We've got Imperial in Inverness. We've got Groucho's in Dundee. We still go to Rough Trade down in London.
Do you go physically yourself and take them up?
Yeah, most of the time, unless it's somewhere out. Sometimes I take them in, sometimes I post them.
Yeah.
It costs a lot to post these things, but so
Yeah.
I do try and go in to local stores myself and kind of that's basically
make a connection with
yeah,
the
exactly.
people again.
I mean, we've got a really good connection with Sandy at Love Music.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Does he really is one of the best.
Things like, you know, they have Record Store Day now, and I know that you're often involved in that and trying to get things out there. But do you think these things are one-offs? And we've talked about this before, but how do you just get people into it? I mean, I go to Love Music and I go to Mono, and I'm very aware that they're just not as busy as they were when I was going in there, you know, 6-7 years ago. And
yeah, I mean, it's hard.
I don't mean to be depressing.
No, you mean it's hard.
It is
like,
hard.
I've
Yeah.
talked to Woodenbox about this because basically they looked at the number of CDs they sold in comparison to the last album. People just aren't buying as many CDs.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to want to buy records these days if they are going to buy a physical product. But then buying vinyl is really expensive. And then you go into Love Music, they say you've got to get CDs because people buy CDs. So there are still people buying them, and
Yeah.
you've got people in record stores who are plugging them and basically playing your album when they're in the store. That's kind of helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because people go, what's that? And kind of things like that. Or something, a tourist comes in and asks for a recommendation, and it's good to have somebody like Sandy or Alex in the store to say this is really good.
Yeah.
Take this.
I have to say, when he's done that to me when I've been in buying something else, and he's getting
Yeah, does that to me all the time. Any money I get back goes straight back to them.
Yeah, he's very good at that.
Yeah.
Very good at that. Have you ever thought of kind of trying to sell from your own space and not setting up your own shop, or anything? That would be even more.
I just don't think we
You
would
have the time or
the time, and I just don't think it'd be worth the effort. I just can't see people coming to a record store, like in a shop, to buy like 8 CDs. That's all they have on offer, where they can go to Love Music anytime they want.
Yeah, sure.
But we do have things like there's record fairs.
Yeah.
We're involved in the record fair at the Pleasance, not this on the 11th. I don't know when this will go over.
Yeah.
On Saturday 11th through in Edinburgh. So we did that last year at the Barras Arts and Marketplace, and they're doing it again this year. It's an independent label, so it'll be all the Scottish labels will be at that.
Okay.
So that works quite well.
You know, saying about things like, you know, Randolph Leap's mug and things like that. How important are the kind of trying? I mean, you seem to often be trying different ways to kind of make your stuff stand out, which I think is, you know,
it never makes us any money, but it does kind of make us stand out in a sense.
Yeah.
Like Adam and I are always, Randolph Sleep in particular, we're always thinking of something quirky or different to do. Like even their first release, we had the CDs as normal, but like you had 10 or 20 which were in hand knitted sleeves. Stuff like that, which I don't have, which I really wish I kept now. But we've done things like that. Even with the music blog I did for its 4th birthday, we did vinyl postcards.
Oh yeah.
So it was a postcard that you could fit a 2-minute song onto. So I got 4 artists to record a 2-minute song. So we had the Sons, Randolph Sleep, R.M. Hubbard, and a band called Behold the Old Bear,
Right.
which is Reindeer from Pigeon Museum, and they all recorded the 2-minute song specifically for me, which I released on 20 copies. So it's always something kind of
Yeah, and I think maybe was it the last Randolph Sleep that came with a guide or
yeah, that's on Lost Map, so I can't take.
Oh, you can't. Oh, I see.
That's
But it shows you that they're obviously, as a band,
Yeah.
they're thinking of different ways of.
Well, that was actually Johnny from Lost Map that came up with the idea.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's a fanzine that comes with it. So
Yeah.
that,
I remember that. But you know, these things do stand out when you go into Mono or whatever now, and you know, you've still got a choice to make, and often you think, right, I've been through the new stuff. There's nothing there that I particularly want. What's going to like jump out at me from the shelves, and these things do make a difference.
yeah, well, we've done quite a few. I think we've done 3 cassettes, a mug.
Joe's last thing was on cassette. Is that right for cassette day?
Yeah, that's cassette day.
I didn't know about cassette day until the day.
Nobody really knows.
Because I don't even have a bit of equipment anymore I can actually play a cassette on, which is terrible. I have cassettes, but I don't have anything to play it with.
No, these were she got these orange cassettes made up. They're quite funky.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have one because I think they're all sold. That's just a bummer. But it's coming out properly in CDE 2 weeks or so. 13th, I think it is. Yes.
And that's what we're going to hear some.
Yeah, that's the
song.
remix album we've got coming out.
and more of that later.
No,
But I remember when we had Jo on the podcast, she was saying that you work just. You've also, as you say, you've got your work as in paid work or whatever, and then every other minute is kind of, I did actually see you one day with a box. I was trying to buy in the car and I went, he's taking CDs somewhere, this huge box that you were on. But is that basically what it is at the moment?
Pretty much, that's my life. I constantly have to check my phone. First thing in the morning, I check my phone for emails. Try and do anything I can before I go to work. Obviously, this is fitting in between my wife and my daughter.
Oh yeah, I was going to say there is
other parts going on in my life, and then obviously kind of trying to do things on the sly at work. Then most of my lunch my lunch times are often spent in post offices posting CDs for Randolph Sleep, or going up to Love Music or Mono to take stuff there.
But you never any other way, I think.
No, I get bored otherwise. This is if I keep thinking, right, I'll just have some time to relax, and I'm like, right, what are we doing next?
And in terms of the size of Olive Grove, you said you would like to be 10% of, but are you looking to, if for instance somebody sold a huge amount tomorrow or whatever, would you want to expand, or do you think you've got this happy band of bands?
I wouldn't see it happening, but if it did mean that the band sold hundreds of thousands of records or just 1,000 records, that money goes to them, so it doesn't make any difference to me in the long term. If it raised their profile that somebody else came sniffing about and took them off us, fair enough, that would be amazing in the sense that they're moving on to better things. But at the moment, I'm happy the size it is.
Really, it's from writing blogs, which and promoting bands that way and saying you should listen to this, but to take the next step of going, right, not enough people are listening to me saying you should go and get this, I'm going to put it into their faces. I think that's it's a fantastic conviction. I admire you for that. What we're going to do now is going to take a quick break and listen to the new Sons album. Tell us a bit about that. That's coming out.
That's coming out the 27th of October. They're putting that. We're putting that out on vinyl. So hopefully the vinyl will be here in time, because the Skinny Dippers vinyl still hasn't arrived. And that came out last month, so I'm starting to freak out about that a bit. That's been ongoing for a while now. I think it's a great album. It's got a few collaborations on it. Like, there's the first track's an instrumental track, and it's got Pete from State Broadcasters playing at the start, and the last track is a collaboration with R.M. Hubbard, which I think is just amazing.
Oh wow!
So it's quite an album. I'm really pleased with it. It's taken a while to come about, but I think it's been worth.
And I think this sounds a fantastic band. I think everything they put out, and always, you're saying it's coming out in vinyl. They always look fantastic as well. Look, see the cover.
The album, the first album they put out, there are 2 vinyl copies because he wanted a copy of a vinyl for himself, so he got a test print made up. And I got the other one, so I'm quite chuffed.
That's the perk. There's got to be some perks in this.
Yeah, exactly. But that time I didn't own a record player, so I had to go and buy a record player so I could have it.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a gateway drug to get buying all this equipment.
Now it's terrible.
So we're going to have a break and listen to Paint Eyes on Your Eyelids. I told you I couldn't read that. And we'll be back in a bit. Cheers. everyone, we are now back, and that was Paint Eyes on Your Eyelids by the Suns. You see how professional that is. We're talking to Lloyd Meredith from Olive Grove Records, and I want to talk a bit wider about kind of your influences and inspirations in terms of music, but also in terms of, we've spoken a little bit about records labels, but just your musical influences. Yes, that's
musical influences.
I know you usually say that to people who play music.
Music, I've got no influences.
But I think it of course it does. It applies to you as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, these days I kind of listen to, basically what I listen to is Scottish music. Is the main thing I kind of, because that's very much what I've been into for the past 5-6 years.
Do you still get a lot of stuff sent to Peenko?
I do, but I don't. I just go and delete all because I don't do anything with the blog anymore.
Yeah.
So I just kind of go in and go, delete.
Yeah,
It's
no, it's just I've got some people sometimes try to contact me on the Scots Whay Hae email, which I should check more often. But it's because it's just loaded with music that people have sent to.
Yeah, once you're on one list, then you're spread to everyone's got your email address. So I get stuff sent from all over the world because I was on Hype Machine.
Yeah,
and basically somebody finds you on Hype Machine, you get added to this list, and you just get spam forever. You're just never gonna have any time.
Yeah. I tend to. It's the personal ones that I still stop and look at, and it's hello Alistair, which is a good start. If you're looking for a trick there, and say I've got a new such coming out, and usually that's it. But yeah, a lot of stuff, and it's from, as you say, it's from all over the place. Yeah. So yeah, that was just a bit.
It's hard to do that though, because unless you know that person, it's very hard to kind of. It's very. I mean, I've been the blogger and I've been the person doing the spamming, so I can see both sides.
Yeah,
so it's
of course.
horrible having to kind of cold call someone in the vague hope that they're going to play your record or review your album.
Sure.
But you have to do it, and it's just kind of, there are kind of nicer ways to do it. Kind of, as you say, make it more personalised and kind of suck you in that way.
Yeah, but difficult.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, from the other side, someone's sitting there going,
that's why quite
delete name here, insert own name here.
Yeah, exactly. You sit there and you create 200 emails where you work through a spreadsheet. You insert the person's name, you insert the person's email address, and you try and maybe, if you know that person, insert kind of personalised by the top. But it's so destroying at times.
How are insert family names here?
Yeah, exactly. Quickly go into their Facebook, look what their kids are called. Right, that's what they're called. I shouldn't be to admit these things.
No. But yeah, so musical influences, that's what we're going to say. So it's mainly Scottish music that you listened to. Was it always mainly Scottish music you listened to?
Not necessarily. I was more kind of that cool pitchforky drowning sound for a while, and then I started my own blog and was writing not just about Scottish music, but because of the blog, it was that kind of discover one thing and that leads to another, So I started listening to Twilight Side and Frightened Rabbit. That led to Jetpacks, that led to kind of everything else that was going on in the Scottish music scene, and from there on, as you say, there's just a wealth of amazing stuff out there. I don't really see the need to go and look at some overhyped nonsense that the enemy are trying to sell to 15-year-olds, because it's just not for me.
And it's out there, people are putting it out there. I totally agree, and folk sometimes say, why'd you bang on? It's not we're banging on about things being Scottish, but there is stuff that really deserves to be listened to.
Yeah, that's exactly it, and somebody has to champion it, and that's where I'm at. So yeah, that's pretty much what I listen to these days, but that could vary from anything from, I'm listening to Hector Berserk and Pronto Mama. That's kind of what I've recently bought, but I still listen to other things. Like, I love the new Jenny Lewis album. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've got that. It's fantastic. Yeah.
I can't still listen to that.
Yeah,
but that's kind of getting into all my Scottish
but
stuff.
I kind of got to that stage as well, where there are bands or musicians that you trust. Yeah. And you just say, I'm never not going to buy them because they're just too good. And as soon as you put it on, you go, that's
she just makes me happy. So
yeah, exactly.
So in terms of stuff that I don't say I've influences with, I've just got varied taste. I'll listen to certain radio stations and I'll pick stuff up from there, but majority of stuff I'll pick up is Scottish stuff. And
so in terms of the Scottish music scene, if you like, for one of our terrible term, who else are you? You've talked a lot about
my own bands. It's quite self-indulgent.
Yeah. Now in the case I sit in the house and I listen to them.
Yes, I don't really get to listen to the house because house is mayhem. Yeah. It's just kind of get my daughter to bed, then it's sit down in front of the computer and deal with all the emails. Yeah, sure. So I'll be listening to music driving in the car or on my way to work. That's my kind of alone time. I've got my 15-20 minutes to myself to sit and listen to stuff. So that's when I listen to my music. So don't know where I was going with that.
If someone was, I take it, for the moment you're just busy with the bands you've got. You're not actively looking to
I'm never actively looking, but then something
gets
I wasn't,
in your ears
I wasn't looking to do Skinny Dipper, and then I heard it and I was like, I can't not release this.
Yeah.
And there's something else at the moment which I'm going to be up with a band soon, because I kind of listen to it thinking I can't not do this again.
Yeah.
So maybe that will happen, maybe we won't. But I think from next year things will kind of hopefully calm down a bit, because basically having another baby on the way, so that's 2 kids. I think that I'll have to kind of rein it in a wee bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I will get itchy feet. I know I will, and I want to do something. So
we'll maybe do this again in a couple of years' time and see how many bands and how many children you've now got.
20 bands, no wife. Children.
You're obviously putting a lot of gigs as well. Or how do you think the Glasgow scene in particular? Let's say be self-indulgent here and say the Glasgow music scene, because I think it's pretty healthy at the moment. I don't think it was maybe 5-6 years ago, but I think at the moment there's a lot of.
You mean people going to the gigs?
Well, maybe not even going to the gigs, because sometimes that's difficult to get a crowd in. I agree with that. I mean,
that's kind of, sometimes we struggle, sometimes we can do amazingly well. It's just I don't know what the formula is for these things. Like, we've got a Glasgow showcase next Wednesday as part of the Scottish Mental Health Arts and Film Festival
at the Glad Cafe.
Well done.
Yeah.
And I've got no idea. That could be one of these ones where 10 people turn up, or it could be actually styled, and I've got no concept of kind of how busy it's going to be.
The Celtic Connection gig, now maybe because it was part of Celtic Connections, I don't know, but it was pretty busy.
Yeah.
Considering it was on for hours.
Yeah, I thought it was. That was 6 bands for a tenner.
Yeah,
pretty good going.
Well, certainly in the context of Celtic Connections, it was spectacular.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the scene seems to be healthy enough. I mean, I be honest, I don't go to as many gigs as I used to. Just
for previous reasons.
For previous reasons, yeah, exactly. I tend to go to the ones that our bands are playing at, because that's the ones I can get a pass from my wife for the evening, because I've got an excuse to go to that one.
Yeah.
And they play enough gigs as it is to get me out and do things.
I think you were saying about getting people in, and that is the problem. Again, it's the music's out there. I often go and see bands, fantastic bands, but there still is maybe 10 people in the audience or something.
Yeah,
terrible.
It's terrible, but it's just kind of, how do you convince somebody?
How do you convince? Yeah,
you just keep at it and hope for the
best. You just have to. Yeah,
that's the way I work. So.
Yeah. You spoke at the Glad Cafe gig. Have you got anything else that's coming up soon that you?
Well, we've got the Glad Cafe gig, and then on the Saturday the 11th, we're going through to Edinburgh, putting another showcase on as part of the Pleasance Sessions, the Pleasance Theatre. So that's Woodenbox, Moth in the Mirror, Call to Mind, and Skinny Dipper. So that'll be Moth in the Mirror's first Edinburgh gig in 3 years.
Wow! And
it'll also be the first full band gig for quite a while, because Gordy wasn't able to play the Celtic Connections because he's off away with Frabbit, but he's obviously not in Frabbit anymore, so he's playing this gig, so I'm quite looking forward to having him back. Is it the
Pleasance Courtyard, is it? Or
the Pleasance Theatre.
Pleasance Theatre
gig, so I don't know how that's going. I don't know how that works, because Woodenbox are quite a jovial band, so people were dancing in the aisles.
Let's get them up out the aisles.
Yeah, exactly, so we've got that, and then Jo's doing one at the Pleasance as well, as part of she's doing it part of the Insider Festival, where she's actually going to be playing with some of the collaborators from our remix album, which we'll play a song off later. Following that, Randolph, basically I'm heavily involved with Randolph Sleep, so they've got quite a lot going on in October. Adam's going off down south to tour with James Yorkston, and then we're going to do
fantastic.
I'll look at Johnny from Lost Map said that up, so that's worked out really well. And we're currently planning a big gig with them in Glasgow, which did you see we did the I Can't Dance thing as part of the East End Social?
Oh yeah.
Well, basically we put on like 6 bands as part of the East End Social, so there was them, there was BMX Bandits, Kid Canavro, Merceau, State Broadcaster and Skinny Dipper, and so we're trying to do something similar to that. We'll get just 4 or 5 really good bands. I think we're talking about getting comedians for this one, just to kind of make it a bit different.
Okay.
So that's hopefully going to happen in November sometime. Following that, we're going to hopefully Woodenbox are going to do a series of gigs, which we're kind of plotting at the moment, which I can't really tell anything about because I don't have enough to tell you at the moment. So that's kind of the main things we've got going on to the end of the year. And
you mentioned that Joe Mango's new album is a remix album.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that and how
basically
that came about.
She has wanted to do a remix album for pretty much ever since the Murmuration came out.
Okay.
And she talked to a handful of folk, and they said, yeah, let's do it. And it's just kind of one of these things that kind of went dragged on. And basically she came to me and said, look, I really want to do this, but I need somebody who's kind of
going to knock on the door on my behalf.
Yeah, exactly. I can't pester these people. Can you pester them? That's what I do best. I like badgering people. And basically we got a whole load of folk to remix the album. She'd already lined up a few folk. So like we've got, I'm trying to think who's all on there. Like Gordon from Brighton Rabbit, he's done one. Jamie, who's Japanese War Effort, did one under Carbs. She lined these up. Adem, who produced her album, did one.
Absolutely.
You've got two of the boys from Randolph Sleep did one, so that's Cormelin and Kira. So it's kind of, you think that Randolph Sleep this kind of pop band, and then you've got this other side where they're quite into the electro music and stuff. We've got a guy in America who's done it a couple for us.
I can't wait to hear this.
Right, who have I missed? Machines in Heaven have done one. I've missed some.
Don't worry, nobody's going to.
Yeah,
they might roll you up.
But basically, we managed to pull it all together. Pen TD for Open Summer. That was the last one. So we just managed to pull it all together, and it's worked really nicely because the remixes are all of a similar kind of vein. So they all fit in quite nicely together.
Okay.
I'm really pleased. It's not the
thrash
kind of
metal remixes or anything.
Sadly, no. But no, it's not the kind of normal thing I would listen to. But I think it works in the sense that. But then again, I don't know if that's what people like, but I like it. So that's the important thing.
I mean, is that really, going back to how the label started? That's really all you can do, isn't it?
Pretty much.
It's just like I like this, and I think you might like it too, and you can't really do anything.
Yeah, you wouldn't invest the time in it if you didn't like it. That's the way I look at it. I mean, I'm doing this for nothing, so I have to have something come back for it. For me, that's seeing something I like being spread amongst other people and going, fuck yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And it just takes a lot of hard work at the same time.
But that's what, the record labels I mentioned earlier on, I was lucky enough years ago to meet Tony Wilson, who came into a restaurant I was working in at the time, and just couldn't stop himself talking about the band that he was working at, and that kind of, and Alan McGee I think was the same, just you've got to hear such and such. Some of Alan McGee's bands weren't great, but he was really enthusiastic about it, and I think that's what you kind of have to be. In terms of the bigger record labels, I wonder, and have you got people who have been signed at all to, or have dealt with, like, we're talking EMIs or something like that, and then been kind of cast aside or anything like that, or do you know anyone like that? I'm just interested to see how, because I would imagine the way that you can give your time and energy and love and all those things to a band must be so different to what you can get if you're on,
For us, no. I think prior to coming to us, Joe was talking to some bigger labels.
Yeah.
But I think she seems happy enough the way that she is just now. Obviously, Woodenbox have been up to that kind of level where I think people have sniffed about them but never taken a bite, and I think Ali seems quite content with what we're doing at the moment. But obviously, if something bigger comes along,
I just wonder if if a lot of bands now, the idea, I don't think anyone, maybe if they ever really did, but not anyone gets into music or gets into writing or gets into anything like that to make money, because surely that's now you'd have to be off your rocker to think that you were going to do that. And so people are making the music because they want to make the music, and actually it's folk like yourself who have this enthusiasm for the music, and not this time next year we'll all be millionaires that are going to give them that kind of support.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's pretty much, I can't really.
No. Listen, I'm
you summed it up so well. I'm just getting on.
It's obvious, I'm a big fan, and so I can't help but say these things, but.
Just keep going.
Just sit and listen to this. I know. I think I did this when Joe was on as well. Oh, you're brilliant.
I get none of this at home, so this is
okay. That's how you came out. Yeah, and you've missed Bake Off, I believe. So.
Yeah, double bonus. So Bake Off fans.
So we're going to. We usually ask these 5 questions that we spring on people at the very last minute when they come along, so I might as well do the same thing to yourself. And it's about favourites. It's basically, and you can answer it however you want and how many you want. We're going to start off with your favourite band
of all time, or
whatever you want. I'm not going to ask you for a favourite band on Olive Grove. I think that would be incredibly unfair.
It changes all the
Choosing
time.
between their
That's
children.
I have an unhealthy obsession with Randolph Sleep. That's pretty much honest. That is this kind of. It's hard because I manage them, but at the same time, I listen to them a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
My favourite bands are the ones I work with. That's why I
Well,
listen
that
to
I
them.
think that makes complete sense.
For me,
Yeah.
like we work with Woodenbox. I mean, I remember going to see Woodenbox in Belgium. They packed out this tent. I thought, God, these guys are amazing. And then a year later, we put their album out, and I still kind of have to pinch myself for that kind of moment, thinking, what are they doing with us, kind of thing? Because they're one of my favourite bands, and that's what I listen to. So
I mean, that is sharing
everything
similar.
in Olive Grove is my favourite.
But sharing the kind of dreams. At 16, so I'd love to be involved in music or to meet these bands or to do anything like that. It is an incredible thing when you actually get to get anywhere near that.
Yeah, but then
Because there's a fanboy, and I think all of us are certainly, you and me and Ian, that would go, oh God,
But I've met all these people, like the people that I've looked up to. I've like I was obsessed with Idlewild, and I've met Roddy Wimble, I've met Rod and all that, and like I met Roddy right recently, and he remembered me from like 10 years ago, and I went and saw him at Dingwalls in London, and like I was obsessed with Frightened Rabbit. I shared a stage with Frightened Scott, and me and Jason Popcop did a bloggers thing, and he was on the panel, and it was like he's sitting next to me.
I don't think we should hide that. I think there's nothing wrong with that at all.
But then then we had Gordon from Frightened Rabbit in Moth in the Mirror, and I was like, I'm putting out their records. There's a connection there almost. So that's kind of. But I'm not as much of a fanboy as I used to be at these things.
Yeah.
Because I manage the bands. Or
Yeah,
I've worked with the bands that I'm
fan. Oh, you say that though. One of my favourite images of last year was at the Oran Moore gig, when you got up on stage at the end. And you're just the happiest man in the world. It was fantastic.
Yeah, but the only downside to that was that my dad was at that gig, and I think that was pretty much one of the worst things that could have happened, because he did say to me, like, yeah, I saw you on stage, Lloyd. I was like, oh no.
I've always wanted to see my son on stage.
Yeah, but dancing about in a suit and a bubble hat, quite drunk. So yeah, but that was probably one of the best nights I've had in years, because I had put so much effort into kind of getting that organised and pulling it all together. So it meant a hell of a lot to me to see it so busy, and then we were told it was sold out, and that's where it kind of. That's why I ended up on stage. That's the excuse I'm sticking with
anyway.
It
was fantastic. It was just joy. It was great. Yeah, so we're talking about album. That was the next thing. If Olive Grove are combined as your favourite band, what's your kind of greatest album of all time?
I hate that question, because it just I'm so fickle. I change all the time. Comfort albums would be things like, I'd go back and listen to Forever Changes by Love, Funeral, Arcade Fire, Midnight Organ Fight, Frightened Rabbit, these kind of albums, but it changes a lot.
I know, it's a terrible question. I don't know why we ask these. Everyone hates them. You may have already answered this, but I'm going to see your favourite gig that you've been to.
Again, I'm fickle. It changes every time. Randolph Sleep play a good gig. Adam says Adam says I go up to him and say, that was your best gig I've ever played. He was like, Lloyd, you said that last time and the time before. I was like, yeah, probably do. The Woodenbox gig in January would be up there as kind of one of the best gigs, as the best gig we've ever put on. I don't think we'll ever top that unless we do a 20-year anniversary where everyone has ever played.
At the Royal Concert Hall.
Yeah.
One of these nights off, they have a Dylan night, they have Olive Grove night.
There'll be 3 of us sitting there. But in terms, probably the one I'll always, like, people always harp back on like gigs they went to. There was only like a big band and it was like a small room. So that was Arcade Fire at the GU in the debating hall. Where there was like 100, 200 folk there. That was just insanely good. Yeah,
those are the nights when the one I remember that was seeing White Stripes at the QM before they went massive, and it was the same, and it was like,
wow, never going to see them in
this. Yeah, exactly. Now we usually ask for someone's favourite film, and I've rather cleverly put music film. But I don't know, that might be too hard.
I can do a tangible link then.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily one of my favourite films, but I do enjoy it. As a music film, Almost Famous. But there's a good link to this, which is when Skinny Dipper, our most recent band, formed originally. It was just Alex and Vicky from the band, and they just formed as like a jokey thing where they had song titles that they took from Almost Famous,
Right.
and that's where they took it from. So they did an interview recently with the Evening Times, and they mentioned this, and somehow or another this got back to Cameron Crowe.
Oh wow!
So Cameron Crowe then starts following them on Twitter. So they start talking to him behind the scenes on Twitter, send him the EP. He goes back and says, "This is amazing, love it." And then on the day of the release, he tweets how he's listening to the new Skinny Dipper EP and how amazing it is. So that goes to 800,000 folk. It was like,
That's
cha-ching.
amazing.
So no, whatever PR I'd done just went
Yeah.
Hollywood star, and we promised to send him a vinyl, and of course the vinyl's not arrived. So it was just like a wee bit stupid at the moment, but at the same time.
But he'll understand these things.
Yeah, exactly. And at some point, well, I didn't know this, but he runs a record label in America.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I didn't know either, so I've learnt this as well. So maybe they could be our stepping stone. They'll go off to Cameron Crowe's label and
It could be on the soundtrack of his next movie. You never know. He does do very good soundtracks.
Yeah, no, exactly. So there's always that hope there. So
wow.
Almost Famous.
It's almost famous by default.
Exactly.
I've never actually seen the film, but that's really impressive.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
it's
I hope everyone's noticing the way that Lloyd is bringing everything back round to Olive Grove. It's genius.
It's my life.
Yeah.
And nobody else will listen to me at work.
Anyone else, I would think this would be planned out, but with him, it's just this is what I do.
It's pretty much why I live and breathe these things. It's always kind of like what's going through my head, and that's what's going through my head at 2.
It's John's here. That's right.
But 2 a.m, I'm sitting. That's what I'm thinking about when people I can't sleep. So
And finally, this is the one that everyone really hates: is what set you off on I mean, you've talked about the reason behind Olive Grove, but you were saying that at 16 you wanted to get involved in music somehow. So what kind of set you on that?
just going to live music, live gigs. I worked out 23rd of this month. I'll have gone to my first ever proper gig, which was Stone Temple Pilots at the Ballons.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking I was 16 at that time, and I was hooked ever since, and I've continued to go to gigs.
Yeah.
Just kind of, I love that feeling of being like 16, 17, kind of drenched in sweat,
Yeah.
and kind of.
Your ears ringing. And,
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm quite happy at the back with my
Yeah.
earplugs in.
Yeah, absolutely. But still listening to
It
stuff.
was just that energy, and just kind of got caught up in everything, and just read everything I possibly could, and listened to everything I possibly
It
could.
became a set obsession.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I became obsessed with bands over the years, obsessed with Symposium, Idlewild, Fried Rabbit, Twilight Sad, and then all these kind of newer things that I'm doing. So there's always something going on.
Well, I mean, I understand obsession completely. I think most people that will be listening do as well. Well, we're going to leave it there. So thanks very much for coming along.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Really
Can I come back next week?
Yeah, we get you next week as well. And we're going to finish with Joe Mango and one of the tracks off the remix album that you were talking about.
It's called Transformuration. So it's like her album's called Murmuration. This is Transformuration. I can't even. I think that's how you pronounce it. I can never quite work it. I think I mess up the spelling for it all the time when I'm tweeting things like that.
Yeah,
Joe's not so
needs
good.
simpler album titles, Joe. I think that's
Yeah,
what
exactly.
we need here.
Just eponymous albums now.
But you know, everyone hopefully knows how much we rate Joe Mango, and this track is Kingdom, and it's Carbs remix.
Yes, Jamie, who's in Japanese War Effort, who's one half of what are they called again? Concrete Animal Sound, and he always Carbs is the thing he does with Johnny Common. It's this kind of hip hop, Scottish hip hop, white Scottish hip hop thing.
Well, I
It's quite
haven't
entertaining.
heard this yet. So
I don't know if they've put anything out. I've just seen them. I saw them part of they played in the Detour, like you know the secret. What's the Detour? What's the thing I'm thinking of?
Don't know.
Detour do the thing where you do the secret walk. I forgot the name of it. That's terrible. But they played as part of that.
Oh, okay.
So I saw them then. They were good fun.
Well, and is this? Are we going to get a hip hop take on Joe Mango? Is that
No, this is much more electronic. Kind of. It's good. I think it's one of the strongest tracks on the album. It's one of the first ones that was done as well. So I'm
Well,
really pleased with it.
I can't wait to hear it, and I hope you enjoy it too. I will be back soon with someone completely different.
I
Cheers.
thought I was coming back.
We'll soon come back with something exactly the same, and it'll be a live edit. Cheers.
Flickering lights on the horizon, I see red paint on my knee. I say it's dark tonight, the world's so dark. Stay awake, Mark, you'll be alright. Here come the lights.